Welcome to the Trading Field Sunday Routine, episode 6. So what we're going to be doing, as always, is running through some of the markets for the previous week and the trades that we placed. We're then going to be looking at the charts and the potential buying and selling zones for the week ahead. And then finally, because it is the beginning of the month, and what happens normally is the first week of the month and the last week of the month tend to be the busiest in terms of news. So we do just want to cover the economic events that are happening for the week ahead.
Yeah, so just to begin with last week, it certainly had its ups and downs, especially for us in the markets that we traded. So at one point up until Friday lunchtime, I think it was, we were around 4 to 5 units up for the week. So we're doing really, really well. And then unfortunately some news came out of Canada, and that was the weakening of the Canadian dollar due to poor GDP data, which caused our USD CAD, which was at one point around 60 pips or so in profit, to then go and hit our stop loss. So that was very disappointing for us. And similarly, USD ZAR, which we were actually holding from the previous week as well, was at one point around 100 plus pips or so in profit. And then unfortunately that saw a reversal on that pair as well. So, but yeah, not all was doom and gloom.
No, certainly not. We did have some good trades. We've now had our 4th successful trade on Euro Aussie dollar.
Maybe that's all we should trade.
Much easier, wouldn't it? Yeah, that was a very successful trade. A bit unfortunate. We targeted, I think, about 200 pips on it. I think we managed to get about 90. Because there was a sort of midnight manipulative spike again, wasn't there?
But I still think it was more than a risk reward of 1.
Yeah, no, it was 1.8, I believe, 1.8 risk reward, which is still fantastic. Anyway, we also had a really, really nice short on gold as well, and to be fair, gold has been horrible to us in the last couple of weeks, so it was finally, well, revenge was sweet, basically, wasn't it? So, and then finally, we also had GDP CHF as well, which was a nice one to end the week on, and I believe, sort of top of my head, I think that was about 80 pips as well, 90 pips. So yeah, so obviously let's run through the actual charts and the setups for last week and actually show you some of the trades and how they played out. So let's jump into the charts now to cover that. Right guys, as promised, let's run through the charts for last week. So the first one we're going to look at, and just running through all of the charts that and the markets that we spoke about last week. We're going to start with Euro Aussie dollar. Now Euro Aussie dollar for us has been very, very kind to us over the last couple of weeks. We've now had 4 successful trades on this market. This one was a little bit frustrating from the sense that our bias was completely correct. There was actually about 240 pips to the upside. Okay, but what we actually did was just to protect the pips that we had secured, we'd moved our stop to around this level here, about 1.59. So we did still manage to secure about 60 pips or so on this market, and very frustratingly, it was just a manipulative spike that pulled down, rejected, and then just continued straight up towards our target. So again, at least we had the bias correct, at least our trade was still profitable, just annoying that it didn't quite get the majority of the pips that we wanted. So we were actually sort of scoping out about 160 pips on there, so we missed out on about 100, but again, still a successful trade and the 4th successful trade on Euro Aussie dollar. We then have Euro NZD, which actually started off very, very nicely. Okay, this was on Friday. It was a bit of an intraday trade. We wanted to see this market pull down around to this 1.66 level, and we got about 40 pips shy of our stop before actually Friday, which was an absolutely crazy evening, an afternoon and evening in the markets. We turned around very, very rapidly, and actually saw that market fall into negative territory by the end of the week. Euro USD, okay, we actually did take a very, very little intraday trade, a short position on this market here, but we closed it quite quickly when we realized the sellers weren't coming in. Our bias, as you can see, was correct. We did believe this market was going to move higher, and that moved about 60 pips or so, but we never really saw that pullback or even that perfect entry to actually get in terms of risk and reward on this market. Okay, we then have GBP USD. So again, we wanted this pullback. Okay, as we came into Monday, we wanted this pullback to here to be able to buy this market. Unfortunately, we didn't see that pullback. Okay, we didn't see that pullback, and the market actually flew up about 300 pips to the upside. Okay, so that, and again, another frustrating one. We didn't really get that opportunity to enter this market. So obviously, when we do the charts and the analysis for the week ahead, hopefully this time we can try and grab some pips out of this market. We then have GBP CAD. Okay, GBP CAD was a frustrating one for us. We obviously had our selling zone marked here. We didn't see an opportunity to enter, okay, until we got up to this point where we started seeing some rejections around the 1.75 region. Now, we did enter a short in this market, okay, we did enter a short, and it was playing with our stop loss pretty much about 24 hours after we'd entered it. We did think that we were going to get this pullback, and eventually we did actually get this pullback to 1.74, but by that point it was a little bit too late. So obviously GBP CAD played us around a little bit, a bit unfortunate on that one as well. We did have the trade towards the end of the week, whereby was GBP CHF. Okay, so GBP CHF was a market that we were bullish on. Again, we didn't see that buying pressure and that kind of perfect indication to actually buy that market. But what we did find was an opportunity to short it later on in the week. Okay, so this structure that we have here, we found this opportunity to short it. We did actually have a lower target on this one, but because it was coming towards the end of the week, we had already made about a unit and a half in profit. We had decided to just actually take profits at 131.75. So it was obviously a nice position to finish the week on. We then have USD CHF. No actual trades came into play for us on this one. We wanted that pullback just into this red zone here and probably missed it by about a pip or two. But again, there wasn't really that entry criteria met for us. But as you can see, bias was correct. 100 pips to the downside, but just unfortunately no reason to enter for us. USD CAD, probably the most frustrating market of the week. Okay, we were both extremely excited when we saw this manipulative spike up into this highlighted zone right here, the 1.321 level. Okay, and we literally executed the trade exactly at that point. Basically, we didn't even fall into loss. Okay, at first. We saw that market pull down all the way about 60 pips or so, and we had a target of about 100 pips on this market. Now, what then happened, and this is all about Mad Manipulation Friday, is we had a bit of news regarding GDP. We had some more US news regarding ISM figures as well, which actually both of them were negative. So it's very, very frustrating what happens, and this is what you have to deal with being a trader, is we just saw this absolute whipsaw smashing through every single technical criteria that you see on the screen, whether it be trend line, support, resistance, everything was just taken out and absolutely flew to the upside. So yeah, very frustrating on that market. Again, our bias was correct up until Friday. We were bearish on this market. We did expect it to start falling. It did fall in total from Monday, probably around 120 pips or so. We thought we had that perfect entry, but unfortunately that news just whipsawed us out. Okay, USD ZAR was one that we were in from the previous week, started very, very well, and then unfortunately for the rest of the week it just seemed to continue to rise with that strengthening US dollar. CAD JPY, again, bias was correct. We expected a pullback to this area. We didn't quite see the criteria that we normally look for when looking to actually enter a market. We did see that movement, that 120 pip move to the upside, but just no real entries on this one for us this week. We then had gold as well. So gold, lovely trade for us. We had a target originally of 13.15, which was about 110 pips or so. Slightly extended that target on Thursday and managed to get about another 15-20 pips. But yeah, very, very nice trade, short entry on this market. We've also taken out this longer term bullish trend line as well. So it'll be interesting to see where this market goes this week. So that's it for last week's trades, guys. I hope you find it useful. I hope you get to understand why and where we enter the markets, perhaps why things go our way sometimes, and also areas and times where actually the market whipsaw against you, when news goes against you, and obviously how we kind of manage that as well. So we'll now jump over to Yasser. Yasser will cover the week ahead in terms of what trades we're going to be looking at this week, what markets, and where we'll be looking at either buying or selling these markets.
Okay guys, so let's have a look at some of the markets that we'll be looking at for the week ahead. Now we've actually identified quite a few markets, so I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. Now to begin with, GBP pairs, GBP NZD to begin with, we're looking for a short on this market, looking for a slight retracement in and around the manipulation zone of 1.955, where we'll look for rejections around this region to be able to go short on this market. Now moving on swiftly to GBP USD. Very similar scenario, slight retracement around the 1.325 region. We'll look for rejections in and around this region. As we can see, the price did breach through this region last week, but the sellers very quickly came into this market. So we're looking for a similar scenario to be able to go short on this market as well. Now GBP JPY, we're looking for a long on this market, just to get a slight retracement into our demand zone. We may actually have the possibility of entering an intraday position to be able to go towards our demand zone as well on this pair, but ultimately we'll be bullish on this pair and look for the next leg up to the upside. Now we've got GBP Swiss franc, which we obviously traded last week as well, so we're looking for another short on this pair, but we just want a slight pullback to give us the best price and entry position possible. So looking for a slight pullback to be able to then go short on this market as well. GBP CAD, we're actually bullish on. Obviously with the weakening of the Canadian dollar at the end of last week, we saw some bullish momentum on this pair, so we're looking for a slight pullback into our demand zone to then be able to go long on this market as well. GBP Aussie dollar, very similar scenario actually, so we're looking for a slight pullback to then create the next higher on this pair as well. Now moving on to the USD pairs. Okay, so to begin with, USD Swiss franc, we are looking for a short in this market, maybe a slight retracement. We may or may not get that actually, but if we do, that will just enter our fib region here just to add to the synchronization of this trade to be able to enter short in this market as well. Now USD South African Rand, so obviously we were in this for the last couple of weeks or so. We saw major bullish momentum come into this pair, and it broke the downside trend line, so we're now bullish on this pair. We're looking for a slight retracement, maybe even a retest of this trend line to be able to enter long on this market. Moving on to USD CAD, we did experience obviously the bullish momentum at the end of last week due to the weakening of the Canadian dollar, so unfortunately we were stopped out as we covered earlier, but we are in and around the supply zone as we speak, so we'll look for rejections around this region to be able to enter short on this market as well. Now moving on to the Euro pairs, to begin with Euro USD, we are looking for a long on this market ultimately, but we may get the possibility to be able to enter a intraday position to be able to go short towards our demand zone on this as well. Now Euro NZD, we are currently riding this trend line to the downside as well, so we are currently looking for rejections in and around the region that we are in currently to be able to then go short on this market. Now moving on to Euro JPY, we're actually long on this market, looking for a slight retracement into our demand zone to be able to enter long on this market. Now Euro GBP, we are currently hovering in and around the recent lows on this pair, so we'll look for a slight retracement to be able to get the best possible entry to be able to go long on this market. Now moving on to Euro CAD, again another Canadian pair, so we saw some bullish momentum at the end of last week, so we're looking for a slight pullback into our demand zone to be able to then go long on this pair towards heading up towards the 1.5225 region. Now Euro Aussie dollar, couple of scenarios here. We may just see this bullish momentum continue and enter our supply zone, where we will then look for a short in this market, but we may see a slight pullback into our demand zone, which will give us the possibility to be able to enter an intraday position to be able to head up towards our supply zone as well. Now moving on swiftly to the Aussie dollar pairs, now beginning with Aussie dollar Swiss franc. As you can see, we are currently riding this trend line to the downside. We're looking for a slight retracement into the supply zone to to then create the next leg to the downside on this pair as well. Now, Aussie dollar USD, we are actually long on this market. We're looking for a very slight pullback into our demand zone to then go long on this market as well. So moving on to the NZD USD, again, very similar to Aussie dollar US dollar. We're looking for a slight retracement on this pair to then be able to enter long on this market. Moving on to the commodity, which is gold. So we saw a lot of bearish momentum in the latter part of last week. So we're looking for a slight pullback and expecting a slight pullback to then be able to go short on this market once again. But hopefully we'll get that pullback to get a really good entry position on this market as well. Now moving on to the indices, beginning with Germany. As you can see, over the past few days, we've had some very strong bullish momentum actually, and we've actually broken the region of 11,550. So we'll look for a continuation of this uptrend to then look for rejections in and around the 11,700 or 11,800 region to then enter short on this market. Now moving on to the other indice, which is UK 100, also known as FTSE 100. So we're currently in a triangular formation here. We are looking for a slight pullback. We were actually looking for a long on this market at the end of last week as well, but we kind of just hovered in and around the 7,130 to 7,100 region. So we are looking for a confirmation of the bulls coming into this market to then be able to enter long on this market. Now guys, that covers everything in terms of the charts and the pairs that we're looking at for the week ahead. Now, as promised, we are going to run you through some of the fundamentals in terms of the economic news that's expected for the week ahead. So to begin with, on Tuesday we've got the interest rate decision coming out of Australia. Okay, now the consensus is that it will remain the same, but it will be interesting to see how this affects the Aussie dollar pairs on Tuesday. On the same day, we've got the ISM non-manufacturing PMI data coming out of the United States as well. There is a slight increase expected on this data, but again, it will be important to keep an eye out on this for all the US pairs that will be trading. We've also got the Carney speech coming out on Tuesday as well. That's from the Bank of England, so that's obviously going to affect the GBP pairs. Now the next day, on Wednesday, we've got GDP data and speech coming out of Australia again. So again, some high level news coming out of Australia again on Wednesday as well, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye out for all the Aussie dollar pairs that we may be trading. We've also got the interest rate decision. Now the consensus is that this will remain the same, and this is coming out of Canada. And then the next day, on Thursday, we've got another interest rate decision, GDP data, and an MP statement coming out of Europe. So that's going to be especially important for all the Euro pairs that we'll be trading. Now on Friday, we've got the NFP. Obviously that's going to cause some major volatility in the market, and we've also got the unemployment rates coming out of Canada as well. So very important to keep an eye out on all of these fundamental news and data that's going to be coming out for the week ahead. And yeah, that pretty much covers everything in terms of the charts and the fundamentals for the week ahead. Okay guys, so that pretty much covers everything for this week. We've shown you the past week's trades, we've shown you the markets that we're looking at for the week ahead, and we've also shown you the economic and the fundamentals for the week ahead as well.
Yeah, so guys, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also as well, if you can, just chuck us a follow on Facebook, especially in the coming weeks or so. We'll be starting to actually get a bit more active on here, and also be planning some events in the near future as well. So thanks for listening.